Oh,
And,
yes, yes.
all right.
Okay. So
I'd have been right up there with the thesis, let me tell you. Oh my God, I am dripping wet, dripping.
Yeah. Wow, it looks like you've been swimming. I like your Victorian bathing costume.
Oh, yeah. It's nicer than the one from Jody.
That's one of those really like weird compliments. What do you mean you like my bathing costume? This is my dress. It's not a.
Oh my God, I just got out of the shower and oh my God, you can't cool off. I was running.
Oh wow, clueless compliments. All right, let's see, Beena. Let's see now.
Woo.
Here we go. We'll see. Maybe.
What? Oh, a shirt? Is that it?
What? What? She said. What? Seriously? What? Yeah. There you go.
Go
there
back.
You go. I'm
Go
all
back.
posturing and being all self-important here. Look at me. Look at my shirt. What?
It's fabulous.
Isn't that
It's
nice?
fabulous.
Isn't that nice?
Move your beard. Let me just say, move your beard.
I'm gonna cut it off actually.
Are you?
I cut it halfway. You see? Halfway
Yeah. You took your dreads off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we can see all these beautiful shirts.
Yeah. So I'm gonna cut it short.
Love
so
it.
I have to go with a razor for that. So. Yeah. Very cool. So I got a whole bunch of them yesterday, the day before.
They came already.
It came really quickly. So I got 8 of them. And then I should have more arriving. They said it's cleared customs, so I'm figuring they'll be delivering it. If it's from LA, it should be today or in the next couple of days.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that one's fabulous.
Yeah.
Nice choices. You made. I can't wait to see the rest of them. Yeah.
So little by little, I'll be wearing them. So
cool.
What's today? Wednesday. So yeah, you'll see. You missed the yesterday one, but oh well.
Wow. Yeah, I saw all of them online, but they look better on. So the sizing was good. You went up a size because of the.
Some of them, most of them they fit exactly right. One is a little on the snug side, and one was loosey. So they all fit exactly right. Yeah, which is good.
Wow.
Because some of them are kind of a neat, but a little bit more tailored look.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, you look good in the bright colors.
Yeah, I didn't think.
But we need to enjoy them, so when you cut your beard off, it'll look
exactly.
even
nicer. But when I wear it, it's like I don't know. They don't seem quite as exotic or dramatic as what you would have thought. You know what I mean?
Oh.
I don't know. It just seems like a shirt to me. I don't know.
No, it's nice. It's very nice.
It's nice, but what I mean, it's not like, oh wow, you're selling a shirt. It's just a shirt. So maybe when I do it with the lighter shirts or the different ones and put a vest on it, that might change.
Oh yeah.
So, I like.
Didn't you get some vests? Didn't you get some?
Oh, I did. Yeah. They haven't arrived yet. These are the shirts. These were all from Rose Gal, not AliExpress.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So So I don't know if there's different, but they were also out there in China. So
cool.
They ship good. They're good. Yeah. Beena, hello, you there? Yeah, Beena.
Oh yes, I'm here.
All right. Brilliant.
And there are a lot of different shirts. So you will see, and with so many different patterns. Okay, and I had some concerns about the patterns and prints and all that, but it comes out like really nice, and I was like, wow, it's looking really cool.
Yeah, they're very different. They actually look more European, because they always have like really funky different shirts. It's either the material, even if it's a white on white, they have those patterns, textured patterns in there. I love those kind of looks,
Me too.
But you don't find that really. You can't walk into a store that I know in the U.S. and pick up some of the stuff.
And it's amazing to me. Why not? But,
how about it?
Yeah. So we had a little fashion parade yesterday. That's fun.
Very cool.
Try them all on. I put the phone up so you can get a better view.
I missed it.
Yeah. Well, what can you do? And
so
I didn't record it either. So
what did Rachel say?
She didn't say. She just said she can't make it. She didn't specify why.
Oh,
And in the tone and the mood, I just felt there's some trouble for something or other. Because usually when she doesn't specify, then it's some, like, I don't know, the government is requiring them to do something, or in the past it's always been some kind of a big deal that's been really problematic. And she said that she put the message, but she didn't hit enter or send, or didn't send it. She said so.
uh, mm,
So yeah, so she said she couldn't make for the whole week. So she'll explain when she comes on. She
yeah.
was she was she was apologetic. She felt bad,
Okay,
and
good.
I didn't wanna stress it because
No, no, no. If
but
if she, we have to believe that she attempted to try it and just didn't hit the send button, you
yeah,
know.
But
exactly.
but
Yeah,
it is Sue and so, for her, it's a very difficult decision she's taking.
yeah,
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 yeah.
like
Commitment.
doing this, it's a huge deal for her. It's really
yeah,
overwhelming. It
yeah,
might be like
yeah, yeah,
it just put her on pause, and but she is very like daring in this sense that
Yeah.
she is coming, and
right.
sooner or later, but whenever, but it will be a huge deal for her
Okay.
Yeah,
because
Good.
she
yeah,
was the Rachel you met now was a different person the Rachel we know before.
Wow.
oh, very
Okay.
different.
It's a huge difference in her.
Yeah,
She is more open and more understanding and listening more.
yeah, oh,
Before she
much
was
more.
not at that pace at all.
It's funny. After you had left on Monday, Sil and I were chatting about a few things, and one of them was about her and stuff. And I said, pull up. He was sharing the screen. I said, pull up her picture, because I had said before there is definitely a gender confusion there. And I said she sounds like when I saw her picture, I went, I thought she was going to be a big black lady who was very masculine. And I'm like, whoa. And then Sil said she's a transgender. I said, well, if that doesn't make sense, why she needs to
Yeah,
fit
yeah,
in. And so it just always blows my mind how fascinating it is what you feel and hear from people without ever seeing them or anything. It's
fantastic.
When you mention that, there is a very obvious masculine energy.
oh
Yes,
yeah,
and you mentioned that, and I messaged Sil. Then I said, okay, I think that Sue is going there. So I was feeling that you
Yeah,
are getting that, and says no, it's Sue's thing, and she will discover herself. And I said,
yeah. But
I
again,
was
when
a
we were
bit
talking, I was gonna let it for you to discover and let it come out
yeah,
in the interaction. But
yes,
the only reason I said it is because I feel that you're on the right track, and it's going
yes,
to
absolutely. So
it's
you
like
were
a
on right
pressure
track.
now, and if I don't share it, then it might influence and affect the interaction, as it
yeah,
were.
Yes.
So if it's just an accepted thing, it's taken for
yeah.
granted. It's not a problem.
No,
So
I could care
yeah,
less.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So just like that curiosity, sort of like what's going on here, because she
Hmm.
doesn't share her video very often. Now, okay, the cover pictures, where she's all dolled up and that now. Sometimes she comes on and the wig isn't exactly right, and the hair's a bit of a mess. And, you see it a bit more. So, so
Oh,
that's why she
oh,
doesn't come on all the time. Yeah, it's a
okay.
struggle a bit for her. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Well, that it all makes sense then, because were some really deep undercurrents that you could just sense from her, But
right,
again, it's
right,
listening and waiting to
right,
hear what are they,
exactly, exactly.
What are
So
they?
I
Hold on.
imagine,
Hold on. Bill, what's up? I'm on Zoom. Are you okay? You all right? No. Why? What'd you say? What? Well, maybe it's a perforated eardrum. You probably should get that checked.
oh dear,
What is it? Well, they need a otoscope, and go in your ear. I don't have an otoscope, but Dr. Karen used to have one that I would use, but You should probably really just have them go look at it and get some. Yeah. If it's an infection in your ear, you could lose your hearing. You don't want to have that to happen. Just have them, verify what's going on in there. But an infection could cause you to have a perforated eardrum if it goes unattended, and that causes bleeding. So I didn't know. I'm sorry, honey. I didn't hear you at all. I didn't know you were talking to me. Yeah. All right.
I didn't hear you
Yeah.
talking to somebody with a
All right.
eardrum.
Oh my gosh. Really? Wow. Okay. Well, I would call them and see what they want to do. I would think that they would want you to come in and they want to look at it. Yeah, shingle. Oh, that was Dr. Sinelli. I still don't believe that, but is it itching like that? Oh, it wasn't, Bill. That was Sinelli. That was Sinelli. Yes, 100%. That was Sinelli. Yeah. All right. Yeah, call Wasson. It was not Wasson. It was Sinelli. All right, babe. Let me know. All right. Love you. Bye. Bill said that he was talking to me last night, and I don't remember. His ear was bleeding. His blood was coming out of his ear, and if I would have known that, I would have got up and talked to him and whatever, looked at it. But I said, you really just go get it checked. They'll put an otoscope in there. I've used one. My friend that's a doctor had one, and she used to teach me how to use it. But I said, go to the doctor and see. I can't look in there. I can only see so far visually in there. So.
Wow, that's something. Did he have an accident of some kind?
No. I mean,
I've never heard of an ear just bleeding of its own accord.
Yeah. It could be an infection. Plus he's on an aspirin every day, so he's going to bleed more because of his carotid arteries. So he has to be so he doesn't have a stroke or something. God forbid.
Wow.
You really need just go get it checked. Don't mess around because you can lose your hearing from a bad infection that's unattended.
Like I said, Beena, have you ever heard of somebody's ear just bleeding without an accident of some kind?
No.
Never. I never heard of that. Yeah. So that's definitely something you got to check out. So
he said
I can't wait until I see Bill again.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to tease Bill this time.
He does that to me.
Exactly. This is the perfect time to do it now. This is the perfect time. So you get the face right.
He's so bad. Yeah.
So all right, well, you're gonna get a taste of your own medicine now coming up. So we'll have fun with him. So, but still, I hope it works out. That's
No, he needs to go.
if he's walking and moving, that's a good sign.
Right, because it hasn't affected his balance, because all your balance is controlled in your ears.
Right, exactly. So and he can still hear, obviously. So.
What? Yeah.
All right. Where are we? We're working hard on session 2. We are a little behind, but we're getting there. We should have it done today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So we did a bunch of tasks, and then it just goes back to more dialogue. Okay.
Right.
So yes, a time will arise when you do have to say something to your client. Your saying is based on what you say and how you say it, while not giving advice or telling them what to do. That is what everyone else does, and we are avoiding that. When we take the time to fully hear them, they will come to their own solution, and our job is to just draw attention to that in case they miss it or are unwilling to do so, because sometimes their own answer is their awful truth. When you hear, there is an absolute moreness that occurs within ourselves as well when you do this. We learn more and we discover more and new insights, and we have more understanding and more awareness and more self-growth. You also get to develop more personal skills like capital P, patience, discernment, understanding, insight, and observation. This then increases your receptivity to things that making more sense, whether it is to be personal or psychological, as you get to understand people better. When you understand people more, you see what really is going on inside and not what you have come to believe does. People are more different than they are the same, so this helps you to understand the benefits of learning to see people as individuals, not as the same, like many theories and beliefs have taught us. When you capital H here, both you and the client become real. Capital H hearing is about one massive fact: everyone wants to be heard.
Yes.
This is a powerful gift to give someone, and sometimes it's the only thing that's really needed. So make sure they are feeling heard and are heard. Yes, times will be present. Times will present themselves when you actually need to respond, but that is generally seldom. Further discussion will follow on that. Most times what we need to say will come from the client. Our hearing will make that obvious as to what they need to hear. All we really need to do is a repeat back to the client as to what they said in perhaps a clearer, more concise way, so they can actually hear what they have just said. Many times people talk so much they don't even hear themselves. Yeah. It was interesting. Yesterday I had a woman who had a stroke. She had several strokes in the last couple of years. So her daughter is a massage therapist who moved out of the area, but comes every week or every other week whenever she can to see her parents. And, something dramatically happened to her mom on the first stroke. I mean, she actually became almost childlike,
That's
like,
unusual. So she had some brain damage then.
Yeah, there's, that was
that
the
happens
first.
with the strokes. If they leave
Sure.
them too long, you get loss of blood to the brain and all that.
Sure. And she just, she is, okay, mommy, or she said she speaks 7 languages, and she names all the languages, and then the last one she says is cat. So she purrs, the whole session, I'm like, and I noticed this the very first time I met her. I thought, wow, this is a little unusual. I wasn't working on her. I just met her through her daughter. She came to the house or something to look at jewelry or whatever. But, I think the stroke exacerbated this, area of the brain to go there. So she walked in and her foot was all turned over, she was like walking on her ankle, on her one foot. Yeah. So I did the cranial work, and then I told her to, step off, come down off the table and start walking around, and her feet went perfectly flat.
Wow.
Yeah. Her arm, in the morning, all she could do was this. By the time she left, her arm was completely flat.
This is the stroke lady, right?
Yeah. Wow. So it was interesting. And the reason I bring it up, because there was an absolute conversation. I thought the husband was going to come, and he didn't. And he's feeding her all these misbeliefs. She's never going to get well, and everybody's bad. You're going to get hurt. You're this, you're that. He tells her to go off of her medication. He wants me to die. He doesn't want me. And I'm like, whoa. So we had this huge conversation about just in general. And it wasn't, again, I was very, very cognizant of my words, is not to tell him to tell the father to stop being so negative. I just, was saying, we have a choice. Everything's a choice in this world. I said, and one of the choices that we really need to be more concerned about is not spreading negativity and being positive. It's not always, that happy face and so forth. So interesting how, that conversation kind of was pertinent and relevant for sure, came up, and then he called during the session, which I always find is interesting. And, you know, what he knew that they were there, but why did he? So the daughter went outside, and she was talking to the father, so I could finish up with the mother in here. And I said, did you have any, I'm just curious, did you have any words with your father about, you know, how he's projecting, you know, stuff onto your mom? And she goes, oh yeah. She said, he said he's going to be more aware of what he's doing, and you know, we're going to talk about more about why he's doing it. But it was funny. I guess the reason I'm bringing it up, it was he wasn't there, but it was, there's that fine line between telling and sharing, you know, that you hope that they go back and give that conversation that, and she did it right away out in the she went out in the car and she spoke to her father, you know. And I said I would be more than happy to see him here, because there's something underneath his stuff of why he's doing that, why he has such fears and so forth, but he's throwing them all on this wife. You know, I said, you can heal, you have to choose to heal, you know. I said, but when someone is constantly hearing that, oh, you're never going to get well, this is awful, and you don't trust this doctor, don't trust that doctor, you end up believing it. It's a mystery.
And especially somebody in that mental state, they are like hyper susceptible to it.
Yeah.
So
and more juvenile, that you only, you know, the whole session she going, okay, mommy, you know, because I said, you know, you got a lot of edema on your legs here. I said, you know, what's your water? And her socks were so tight. I said, you really need to not choose different socks that are not so tight right now, even if they're old and the elastic is gone, I don't care. I said, you don't want to make that hard compression there, because she had all these really big marks in her ankles. And I said,
and she called you mommy.
Yeah, she goes, okay, mommy. Okay, mommy.
Wow.
I mean, she's done that before, and this is the first time I ever worked on her, you know, and you let it slide, but there's something that got really askew there, you know. But, you know, okay. And I think she's younger than I am, you know, not by much, you know, but she looks older, but she is, I believe she's only in her 50s. Because the daughter is only 30, you know, not that she couldn't have had her super late in life, but whatever, you know. But interesting, you know, it's that whole, like I said, this course is a very, you know, interesting. It just makes you extremely aware of, by choice, of what you are saying to somebody and how not to tell them what to do.
How consequential it is. So
yeah. It was interesting though. Yeah. But okay.
How consequential it is. It's huge.
Yeah. So, but it's fascinating. Yeah.
I mean, you know, and of course, sometimes when people are like really in a bubble and, you know, they're talking about stuff that's, you know, like self-harming themselves. Okay, you know, this is a point where you're going to say, you know, well, I gotta tell you, hey, no, stop that, you know.
Sure.
Again, we said the point that we emphasize this so strongly is to shift our default, because we tended to, in the past, we default to giving advice. It's such a natural tendency. But when we default to hearing and let stuff come, then yes, if we absolutely have to, all right, but you know, there's many other things you can do first, and of course, you know, getting them to choose their options, becoming aware, and all this, so much better, so much better.
Yeah, it is, and again, I'm very thankful for that new. Again, it's a shift. And I'm not going to say that I gave advice all the time. I didn't. You know, it's just that awareness now of how important it is not to, more so than ever. You know, it's appropriate advice or appropriate recommendations. You know, like you said, you know, if somebody's hurting themselves, no, you need to stop doing that. You know, you don't give them a, you know, that's really not a choice in a sense. I mean, I guess they do have a choice to do it or not, but you know, like I even said, you know, choose different socks. That's a multiple, you know what I mean?
Right. I mean,
And
sometimes, there's very simple things and it's like,
yeah,
okay, you got to
even
make
the
that
shoes.
choice.
Yeah, even the shoes she had on. I said, do you have other shoes at home to choose from? She picked like a little loafer for her to put in. And I said, they're too big for her. Number one. Number two, I said, you watch how she walks in bare feet, plants straight. The minute she puts the shoe on, she turns and goes out towards her ankle and goes towards. So what is neurologically her brain teaching that muscle? So she's trying, part of it, she might be trying to keep that shoe on. So she's not going to improve that. Like it's a little bit of a drop foot yet because of the stroke, But I referred her to the acupuncturist and stuff. And as much as the father doesn't trust anybody, believe in anybody, after Paula, the daughter, went home and talked to him, she said, my father is absolutely now willing to let me call the acupuncturist and let her be seen. I've seen his work and my work combined is really pretty powerful. I've seen it for a couple stroke people. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So we'll see. But it was good.
Yeah.
Why attacks? These are the tasks now. Why exactly does every individual have to come to the awareness by themselves? Why is this so critically necessary? For me, they need to be self-empowered so that they can learn and grow by figuring things all out on their own. If someone does it for you, you can't really own it and learn it, plain and simple, to me. The key is about no advice and not telling the client what to do. We are avoiding doing what everyone else does. Why? Share in detail why this is so crucial, even though it seems counterintuitive and contradictory at first. So the key is about no advice and not telling the client what to do. Okay. So for me, this is how we have been programmed to be helpful. But it is surely counterintuitive in the helping department. No one learns anything in or about life unless they get the opportunity to figure it out for themselves. And again, with my nephew Justin and working on the deck, he said, he was right. He said, this is their thing and they need to figure it. I said, you are 100% right.
I was impressed that he came.
Oh, 31 years old. God, I mean, he's older, way beyond his years. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. I just labeled, the conception for him. I said, that's it, it's inappropriate help versus appropriate helping. He got it, Next to it is engage in an interaction where you are just listening, just hearing what's going on. Focus on what you are learning. What did you learn beyond what was said? What abstract understandings and learnings did you come to? For me, I spoke to a friend, Janet, to catch up from the COVID isolation, and I let her talk as much as possible. What?
I'm trying not to yawn.
Huh?
I'm trying not to yawn.
Oh.
I was like holding the yawn in. Sorry. I'm trying not to be disruptive and it was worse.
You can yawn. I won't take it personal. No, I didn't. I learned that despite her good humor about things, I could hear her underlying frustration of being home and dealing with her daughter, with schooling her and parenting challenges every day, and she misses her own independence. I know the task was to listen, but it was a personal call, and I tried to talk less and ask questions more and hear. It is interesting to hear what people are actually saying by feeling them without actually saying those specific words.
Yes.
Something I need to get used to doing more. People have always been keen to hear my funny stories, so I have always been the talker. Yeah. I am focusing more on listening, but it is surely a challenge and a new habit to conquer. Yes. But But again, like, I think that first module was like the fear of shut up, don't talk, you know, and, and, and I think that's what was just so awkward for me, and now that I'm in, like, yeah, you can talk, there's things you can do. I'm like, okay, I feel better now,
But it was the overbending that was needed.
It's
been very useful, that
because
overbending.
my brain really, really was doing some overbending.
Yeah. And also, it's funny. I don't think I've actually mentioned it anywhere in the program.
What?
Just that one of the things that is really powerful and really magical and awesome with the hearing is to break out of a very subtle habit. And this is the one of essentially believing our own sensibility. Now, when we've practiced looking into people, understanding them, figuring them out, so something that we've done most of our lives, right? And at least for us, it's a passion that we have. So when somebody comes and you're practicing this, like Rachel, you were listening and you kind of gave a rundown of all of your perceptions. Most of those, yes, while accurate, they're still based on our experiences and our beliefs. Here's the key part, though. We need to absolutely get into the space where we can realize that, hey, no matter how much it's based on whatever before, it's still an assumption in the present.
Correct.
Right. And furthermore, when we really make an effort and say, wait a second, I want to put all that aside and I'm going to take whatever that was and I'm going to listen for how I can be wrong.
Yeah.
Now you start to hear, oh my goodness, if I had not set that aside, I never would have heard this.
Yeah.
I never would have seen this because, my perceptions would have clouded my perspective, a bubble, all the stuff. But when we really sit and we are that purity and we, oh, wow, that surprise, that's when we really, really start to hear.
And later in the module, you're right. It talks about if we stay in that place where we're trying to prove what we think is the situation, it was clear as a bell at that component there that you disconnect with someone. Because you're busy in your mind trying to make those things come true. So it's like, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, and I have to say, with Rachel, there was a deep sense of it, but without not knowing. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe there's more here. You know what I mean? So I said, I don't know the whole story. And again, I can't assume. Yes, some of these things are almost blatantly obvious. But, hey,
and
maybe I have a deep voice and they're going to think I'm transgender.
It's that short hair. It's that short hair.
Dyke? Is she a dyke?
Oh boy. So but when you did share, you did share it, your perceptions, as a speculation, as an assumption, as a maybe, I don't know, I'll wait and see. And that's very important, that's very important. Now, the key point is, once we are in that wait and see, to not get into confirmation bias mode.
Right.
That's also important. So, yes, we make your opinions, but then you're looking for what supports your opinions. Very careful. We're very dangerous, So we want to be very cautious of confirmation bias.
Yeah, exactly. Confirmation bias. You got to be very careful of that. Yeah. Yes. No, and you can see, I mean, it's obvious how important, that statement is. For a lot of reasons, but in the other picture too is really allowing yourself to be wrong.
Exactly.
And it's okay. Sure, you might think that, but it's almost like, in my head, it's like, don't get ahead of yourself, Sue.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
yes, exactly.
You might think this or whatever. And that's why I said I try to go with the blankest slate in my head,
Yes,
especially when I meet
yes,
somebody. I don't really
yes.
like to hear a whole lot about them, even them on the phone, blah, 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 you know, until they come in,
Right,
you know.
right.
They don't really go blah, 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 but I,
Not really.
geez.
Just halfway.
Ah.
Yeah, I actively look for where I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I
No,
like to
correct.
be proven wrong, because typically my perceptions and assessments, they're based on the usual and sort of expectations of typical and average and aggregate. I don't want to be seeing that. I want to be seeing them all. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. And again, transgender, I really don't care. I mean, and some people
Same.
get stuck in that. But again, even before seeing and hearing her moreness about, I mean, she's just hyper passionate or over like fixing the world. You know what I mean? And you know, she's got to make all the wrongs right. I mean, is that realistic? No, but that is a moreness in her that she has that compassion, you know, for other people. So again, it's far, far better to, you know, to look at somebody from that standpoint. You know, what does her gender have anything to do with it? It doesn't.
Nothing. Yeah, and this is something for me when I was a kid, and you know, I saw the male woman thing, and you know, our kids at school, especially the boys, oh, men are superior to women. It's like, based on what, man? Come on, you're sitting in a classroom, all the boys getting the top marks in the class, and the girls not. No, usually it was the other way around. The girls are always the ones doing the best at school, you know.
Sure.
So right there, it's like, come on, dude. You know, your brain can think regardless of your sex. It's like, I know, it just always irritated me, the shallowness of this thinking.
Yeah, there's the word shallow. Yeah. 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 So the quote is, do good by being good. It's not invasive, non-presumptive. Specific things will come about through the force of circumstance and appropriateness, and they will be obvious. Biella Noble.
So it's on that point, real quick for me. You know, I say a lot of things, and it's just like, when it comes, it's sort of almost pulled out of me, and I'm like, you know, I get a little bit like, oh, where did that come from, kind of, you know, and that's what I feel is cool. That I'm not thinking, should I say this or not? It just comes out of me, and then I kind of listen to it myself, and you know, and so you know, after a while of practice, it just becomes fluid, you know, which is nice, you know, because you've removed all of the internal agendas.
Right. Exactly.
So now, because you understand what it is you're trying to do, the intent, your body tries to conform with that intent. You know, so.
Yeah. No, I know that feeling when things come in. I don't question. They're just there. They show up, and I don't question them. I would have never thought that. You know, objects or words or things. I say, this is what's coming in here, and I tell them. I said, it makes no sense to me, but can you help me out? I said, what does this mean? You know, insecurity or something comes up out of the blue, and I'm like, I only say things because this is what I'm receiving. You know, and they're like, oh, really? And you know, then they go into what is happening in their life, which is spot on, you know. So we actually do more with hearing alone. From hearing, we get to hear the client's intents, motives, or if they have a particular agenda. Many times the reason they say they come to us is really not the real reason they are coming. Some people just want their indulgences condoned and to get sympathy. Perhaps they are lonely or they need human interaction. There are many different and real reasons for them coming. We need to hear those reasons. We need to have patience and persistence, as in some cases, these reasons are pretty well hidden and they take a bit to come out. Besides, only one side of the story comes out. Some people are the problem and are just looking for justification for themselves or their behavior. When we capital H hear, we can hear consistency to hear if their story adds up or not. This hearing will let us get past what they are selling us so that they can get to their real story and get close to the truth of the matters. This is of course if the client truly has the intent to be real and to improve their lives as well as themselves. In the event that they are in an immersion bubble of BS, they will never find resolution. What needs to shift is the mindset of looking for a solution or a fix or a resolution. Our only focus is to understand, period. This is our only intent, understand. All attention is to the understanding what the client is sharing and saying, as well as understanding what it is that they want to deal with. And again, you see that lots of times. I've heard other therapists, they have their own agenda. And lots of times it's their stuff that they think they see in someone else. And it just drives me nuts, you know. Or they're constantly making reference to themselves. Oh, yeah, this happened to me too. And this is what
you got stuff to deal with, girl. Come on, you got to get this stuff sorted. You can't be bringing it into therapy.
Yeah, I'm like, who? That always bothered me because this is their. I was big on this is their time, not my time. That's why I rarely, once in a blue moon, if it's appropriate, there's a connection there or an understanding or something. But it's not my time to tell them my story. Get the hell, you know. But anyway. But you see it happen all the time, or I've heard it happen with other therapists. And then if I've ever been the patient, you know, or the client, and they do that, that is so unnerving to me, you know. Not only witnessing them doing it to someone else, but when it's done to me, it's like, I'm really going to pay you for telling me about yourself? Really? You know.
I mean, there are times, of course, when we share things because
absolutely,
there's a absolutely,
not the whole session.
Yeah. And also, they sometimes when they're sharing, they don't realize that they are sort of projecting in reverse onto the client, and they've got stuff they need to deal with, and it's coming out in the session.
Absolutely.
That's all different deals.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, it strikes a nerve in them because they might, but it's about the other person, not them. Right. Figure your shit out on the other side, you know.
And then you get to, you know, our type of sessions where we are doing things together.
Yeah.
Which is now a whole different ball game, of course. So you know, we are learning together, and this is fantastic. I really love that, you know.
Yeah.
So now I can say, hey, you know, this is something I'm working on. I'm learning on this, and now we figure it out together and we collaborate. That gives me a great joy.
Yeah.
That's very
yeah, that's right. I mean, that's an appropriate time to use that. Absolutely.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. But you need to have that relationship first.
Yeah. Absolutely. When there is full and complete capital U understanding, then almost always resolution is obvious and the client will be thankful. Instead of just thinking things through to the end, they are thinking and saying it through to the end all by themselves from every angle possible. There is also always more to hearing. Sometimes the client fails to see themselves because it is either an awesome truth or an awful truth, and we can hear that if we listen. The client can be clouded to see the obvious in themselves because perhaps they don't believe it's true or don't think it's possibly can be true. This is where we need to be exquisitely careful and to avoid at all costs telling the client what we hear. We can approach that in such a way that we make them more aware of it by asking strategic questions. But capital H hearing must be in check as everything depends on our superpower skill of hearing. So the quote is, people say the most ridiculous things. They reveal their innermost and do so without realizing they are doing it. Isn't that the truth? I heard that lots of times. We simply need to tweak our listening to hearing, especially hearing implications of that ever-present more. Mostly, they do this in the way that they say what they say about others, yet it's so often completely and directly applicable to themselves. So next, and now we're at the tasks. Engage in capital H hearing and pay particular attention to what surprises you, what is new and different, and what you did not expect. Write it out in detail. Emphasize these new perceptions so that as to train the brain to look for the unexpected. It's what makes how we help and our learning hearing exceptional. So the one was a hearing exercise I did. It was back June the 9th from HaH. And again, at that time back then, I was writing down and breaking down feelings I got from the client, expectation, surprises, my questions to them, and resolutions.
Excellent.
If they reached any.
Excellent. Real quick sideways point. If ever you're on with HaH together, share the story about your dependent client that you had. Yeah, you right in the beginning. Yesterday or the day before when last you were on,
yeah.
you had a story about there was kind of a young girl, I think, youngish girl, and
Yeah,
she just became
that
fully
she couldn't
dependent
breathe
on
or
you.
move without asking me.
Right.
Mhm.
Share that with HaH. It's a nice horror story to share.
Yeah.
So a lot of people like this idea, being the one. I'm like, they're looking after, and you got to get out of that logic very quickly.
Yeah.
That
And it's true. In the beginning, I was just starting out, and you think, oh my God, I'm really helping. She really needs me.
Yeah,
I must be doing my job.
Exactly.
It became absolutely out of control because there was always a text. There was always a phone call. No, we didn't have text back. It was answering machines.
Right.
And I'm like, wow. And again, there was a point where it just it had to stop. It had to stop because I said, what the hell? She is draining me.
Yes.
I didn't even realize how much she wasn't learning at the time. I didn't get it. But it was an absolute energy management drain on me.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. And how did the relationship end?
I'm going to go back and find out who that client. I mean, I remember the sensations I had. I'm having trouble picturing her and her name, but I'm going to have to go in my memory bank because that's, I have thousands and thousands of clients, all their files. Yeah.
Wow. You have files still of them?
Yeah.
Wow, good for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Love that. Mr. A is very happy to hear that. Celebrating. Yeah. That's fantastic. Yeah, but it's a good story though to share, because one doesn't think of it until you're in it. You don't realize the problems of it. So.
Yeah. So it's sure the feelings I got from her this particular day. Calm, joyful, phony, distracted, claims she wants to hear us, but is not. I think this was the day where she said, I'm choosing to hear you guys. And she did anything but that. Remember? I mean, she made such an emphasis on it. And it was comical in a sense and sad all at the same time that what she thought she was doing, she wasn't,
Or at least what she wants to do. Yes, the instinct about being wrong too, or at least being surprised. Sure, communicates, and it seems like she kind of gets what's going on. But if you really hear, a lot of the stuff goes right over her head completely, and she's completely lost, and she's a bit embarrassed to say, I whatever you just said, like I have no clue what the hell you're saying. So
my feeling is, for me, if she could feel and really be some of those pretty amazing things that she says I mean, she's a really good writer,
Yeah.
but they're only up there on the surface. They're not inside of her just yet.
Yeah.
You know, if she lived that and owned it and believed that, she'd be an absolute powerhouse.
Oh, it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
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 I agree. And it's coming. It's coming. You know, we keep at it. We keep at it. We keep working on it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Some of the other feelings I got was overcompensation, clarity and application questionable, lack of implication, lack of appropriateness, lack of immersion management, lack of overview perspective, immersion issues, claims she hears Syl, but she really does not, disappointed in self, swims only on the surface. That was what Beena had said at one time. And it's very obvious when you think of it in that context. The expectations that I had of her was I expected her to keep interrupting. That she is hyper agreeable, that she always looks to please and say the right thing in a very overdone way. It's just really over the top a little bit. More talk and not enough action. I always expect that from her. Needs self-validation of her accomplishments. I expect a positivity, but again, it's not a real one. You know, persistence and overcompensation. But what I was surprised about with her was, and again, it's funny how some of these are complete opposites of what you expect. There's a huge deliberateness in her.
Yes.
You know, she wants to do capital H hearing, but really doesn't do it. And that was a big thing for that particular day. Her you know, she did want to do it, but she didn't. She's attempting to make space. She was. And she cannot listen to this anymore. Cannot listen to this. I don't know. I don't remember what that was. Surprise. She can't listen to this anymore. Self-proof. I was surprised that she was, I think her, if I remember correctly, like when she had accomplishments with CJ or with herself, she would make note and you know, validate what she has done.
The self-proof.
Openness, a little surprising, but don't know if it's completely there. Receptive of needed shifts. And again, for someone who is pretending to get it, it was surprising to me of how receptive she was, weirdly enough. It sounds like a contradiction, but how receptive she was of how much she needed to shift. But she doesn't really do it. She wants it.
She's stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
If she acknowledges how little she knows, she's basically going to be a child, a young child. Yeah. And this she's struggling to do because she wants to maintain that, because she's also afraid that she'll be abandoned like she was as a child if she gets into that child mode. What do you want to spend time with me for when I'm completely ignorant? You know, so it's a problem for her, this, you know, so.
Yeah, I know. I hear that saying that my sister-in-law is, you know, she was told that she was worthless, useless piece of shit. So anytime something good comes, she has to make that old belief come true. So she does really stupid things. You know, you don't remember how much of a piece of shit I am? If you don't, I'm going to show you right now. And I'm going to sit here and drink 2 bottles of wine and get in the car. You know, again, knows better, but again, it's just like sure, it comes in from that
it's who she's supposed to
be. Correct.
It's amazing how a simple program can be so incredibly influential. One idea.
Yeah, I always say to people, you know, it could be a mother, a father, a religious leader, a school teacher, whatever. One comment at any age can absolutely affect you for the rest of your life.
When it grabs onto itself like that.
Yeah.
It's an incredible thing. It's an incredible thing.
So some of the other surprises was that she does not always completely hear Syl. Again, she says that she does and that she gets it and she's listening, but I don't think she does. That was my surprise. I was surprised that she justified CJ's actions. After trying to give him space or whatever. Anyway. And I was surprised. This was the day where she said she pays $10 a day to CJ for chores, but does not pay Syl, or if so, pays very little. So again, surprised that somebody would say that in that context. There was a little bit of insensitivity there as well, but she was surprised that she was teaching CJ about people and to stand up for himself, which again, she's teaching him something that she needs to get first. But surprised that yes, she's aware of it, but she's, again, you wonder how impactful that will be if you don't lead by example. I don't know. It's her life. And surprised that she's always is eager to learn more, and that's her moreness, So my questions would have been her task to figure out when she is inadvertently being pulled into an immersion bubble and gets distracted, is to figure out when she's being pulled into those and getting distracted. So to be aware of her bubbles and not get lost, be aware of myself by being aware of my bubbles type of a thing.
Yeah.
I wrote here, Syl went a bit off script with this one in the fact that he directly and diplomatically pointed out CJ's interruptions and how she completely switches over to giving CJ complete attention inappropriately, watching a movie screen of life, but not in full awareness. So again, I remember that day very vividly. Remember where it was, again, your ability for complete diplomacy in saying what needs to be said that is critical and important. And sometimes they're very, very difficult things, but resolutions, I believe instead of controlling CJ all the time, she is not seeing him as a more independent being from awareness, understanding, and discernment. Yeah. Instead of controlling CJ all the time, she is not. Yeah. So I think she saw that day.
Yeah. And also it's come in subsequently, when she was hearing her mother, she said, "Oh my goodness, I'm saying the same things to CJ that my mom used to say to me."
Okay.
Yeah, just repeating some of the stuff, like, where's it? Like, don't jump on the sofa. And then she was like, well, why not? Stuff like that. So she's just starting to question what she's saying, not just assuming it to have a sensibility. It's like, she said she's just saying stuff, not thinking about it really. So cool. Yeah.
Interesting.
Coming along. Yeah.
So that was my task there.
Yeah.
The next text is practice repeatbacks with friends, family, and strangers. Observe and share what happened. How did it make a difference?
Sorry, Sue, sorry to interrupt you. Just one thing. When you said about share, that a lot of talking and less action, less doing. I know about capital H hearing, practicing capital H hearing. Other than that, what you feel about it? But less action and more talk.
I don't know if I understand. It's a question to me.
It's a question, yes. It's a question that what else you feel in her, that she is just talking and not doing actually.
Correct. I feel there's a great desire for her to want to do these things and to want to be different. But I think that there's a fear in her that is overpowering that, being told that you have no value or whatever. I think she struggles with that. I feel that she struggles as much as she thinks she wants to be it. I don't think she feels it in herself that she is capable of doing it. And that's perhaps why it only comes out as this and not doing,
She thinks it, but doesn't feel it.
Yeah. It's a feeling component there. It's all a cerebral to me. That's what I feel. It's all up here. Yes, it all makes sense. But if you don't drop that down into the heart chakra, you know what I mean? To feel that and live that. And months ago, I saw something in her where she was trying to say something about herself, or you brought something up, Sil or Beena, about her, and she even said, "Oh my God, I feel like I'm coming out of my skin. Yes. I can't feel myself." And it was very difficult for her to talk about her. So again, what it looks like on a bigger platform there to other people is very different, I feel, than what she is actually connecting to or feeling for herself.
Okay, because I asked this question because if you look at her, she is writing a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. She's continuously talking about all these things. She is using all the terms. She's incorporating all the perspectives and ideas. So on surface, it looks like that she is doing all the doings. Yeah? But the problem, the point is, she is not being all these things. As you already said that it's about feeling. So this when you mentioned that about doing, I was recalling what else we are expecting from her to do that, which is really interesting. If you try to, if it's just to catch the culprit, it's a very harsh term, but I don't have any other word for that. If you have to catch a culprit in some situation, you cannot catch her in that thing, because she is doing all things on the surface. Yeah? Everything. Oh, I'm getting, and I'm doing. This is her, and still, if you definitely remember that thick skin analogy, for sure. Mm-hmm. It is. This is not something that she is doing it deliberately, but this is a matter of survival for her. This is how she survived all her life. Mm-hmm. So this thick skin, like, okay, it's raining, but my pores are closed. Okay, it's raining, it's just going through over my skin, but not getting in. My pores are open, not open. So this type of thing, like, you cannot say that this person is not in rain. Okay, oh no, yes, and the water is also going over the skin. Yes, the pores are closed, not getting anything, not getting in. And in Cher case, it is amazing that she is still in this thing. Yeah. Because I heard so many times when she actually said, because she don't want to get into that deep thinking. Okay, because she, though she share her story in very much detail, but still there is something she don't want to be touched.
They're just words. They're just words on paper.
And Sil was like really amazing again, patience and diplomacy also, capital D diplomacy. But also now Sil starting is pushing her a bit, because Rachel and Cher, they both are very delicately handled. Mm-hmm. Because they are aware. They are not stupid people.
No. Absolutely.
No, I'm just sharing my perspective. I know that what you shared already. So it is just my perspective. They are not stupid people. They know every ups and downs in the life. They saw people's extreme behaviors also. They saw their real or hidden self also, and other people's real self or hidden self. So it is for them. It's a very difficult to really get exposed. They know everything. Their mind know every trick to just go around about like okay, sideways and just touching this. Okay, I'm doing this. So when you mentioned that she's doing, and my mind started to just checking in what she's not doing. All the actions are checked, and nothing is getting in, as you have already said that. But nothing is actually being done. She is doing, but nothing is actually being done. She's not feeling as
That's
your
powerful
words.
now.
Yeah. The concern, couple things for me, concerns and questions, like how, well, let me do the concern is if she doesn't get herself more and feel more and stop swimming just on the surface. I mean, she didn't even have the scuba gear to just go under just slightly. She's not even doing that in most instances. How do you get her to go down that path gently, and allow her to feel without, again, having a really almost a psychotic break, in there because of the fragility there. Okay. Number one. Number two, the concern is if she can't get there, how effective can she be as a coach or a therapist if she isn't getting herself? Because if she can't connect with her, how is that critical component of connecting, with someone else to be able to hear them? It's a constant disconnect because she isn't really hearing. And this is, what we talk about all the time, and the criticalness of capital H hearing. Once you are in your head or somewhere else, you disconnect from that client. So if she can't disconnect to herself, she's always going to be disconnected to others.
For me, there are two things. The first is her intent to goodness.
Yeah.
She has that intent and very clear, very obvious, because she had this idea in her mind that what she didn't get, she wants to give. What she didn't get. Okay. So
Right.
this is the foundation. And the other thing is that on surface, she is learning life coaching and all these things, counseling and everything. But in reality, the course is for her, and she is doing that course in a roundabout way. She is doing capital H hearing for others, and she's just okay, I'm learning techniques and all these things. But we are actually doing this course for her.
Her.
We are hearing her, and just by inch, because it needs real delicate way of handling. So inch by inch, by every single session, we are moving her. We are actually a bit pushing her every single. Last time it was, and she mentioned that in the, but Sil said many times, it was in process. It was like marinating continuously. It was marinating for her. And then I used few words, and she said, "Boom, Beena, you just changed my life." It was, and she posted it and tagged me in that. It was about the sharing and telling difference. So after months of all these things, this was the first time she get that. So for sure, it is like you just pour that idea, let it marinate, let it rest, let it sit, and she will run here and there like a child. Okay, oh, I got it, and then she will run there and here and will do a lot of stuff. And then after few weeks and months, she will come back and you touch her again. It's like gradually increasing the dose for her. And this is what Sil is doing continuously for her. So on surface, Sil actually offered her, "Oh, you want to be a life coach? So this is the course for you. It will help you." But actually, we are doing this course for her, and she is getting
Correct.
this.
Correct.
Okay, good.
It's a
Yeah,
mechanism to apply all of the stuff and really consolidate and relearn and everything. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot with Cher, and again,
yeah,
and understandable, and again,
yes,
I didn't know her background, and I mean, the sensation that comes through just in her voice and her words and stuff like that, you know that there is something massively traumatic that was behind all of it. But yeah, so again, what I hear is, someone like her, it's our perseverance and persistence to just trust and wait, to see, and you go through all the steps, and it'll probably take a little bit longer than most, but not that
yes. Like
it can't happen.
maybe she will do this course again
Yeah.
in future,
yeah.
and then she will say, "Oh, now I'm getting it." So this is kind of a thing I feel about Shiv. And as you said that, your perspective, sure, Sue, is like very, very perfect and straight and checked on mark about her. It is all because about her story. I was not aware of her story just a couple of weeks before till. I was not really aware of that. What was that? But even if she is sharing her stuff, her stories, every detail and everything, still, I feel that it will not be more than 40% of the real story.
Mhm.
No matter how much you read that story and she shares that, I feel that it will not be more than 40% of the rest of that
Yeah.
actually, because she is so overwhelmed by that, and it's a very difficult place for her because
Mhm.
people's expectations are very high from her.
Mhm.
And people assume because she is putting herself for life coaching, so people expect her to like everything. She is a together person, and
Mhm.
she cannot accept most of the things
Yeah.
she is struggling with.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a hard nut to swallow.
Lots of stuff going on. Lots of fun stuff. Lots of fun stuff.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, lots of
Okay.
fun stuff. Lots of
Yeah.
fun stuff.
Practice repeat backs with family, friends, and observe and share what happened. How did it make a difference? For me, I'm not sure about the concept of repeat backs as they relate to takeaways. Takeaways are understandings, and repeat backs are. Uh, and again, this was a hang up that we talked about
We
before.
clarified. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
When I
Hopefully
practice,
we clarified. I think we
yeah,
did. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. When I practice repeat backs with many people, some say they cannot repeat back more than a sentence at a time. Others times they correct me for the words that I missed in a sentence or two that I actually thought I said. So it was very, very confusing, like
Yes. Yes.
I
Yes.
guess is it the point that people interpret what they want to interpret?
Yes. Exactly. For the
They
most
hear what
part.
they want to hear, and just
Exactly.
see that it's
Yeah.
all very different. You could have 10
Yes.
people in the
Yeah.
room say I say something and have them repeat it back, or vice versa, and it's all going to be different.
Exactly. Exactly. In
Okay.
other words, do not trust communication.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Just to know very clearly, without a doubt, that communication is a haphazard business. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 90% of the time, it's all assumption. And we discover, oh goodness, we've been communicating all this time, and the other person has got a clue about what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a big deal, very big deal. It's a good practice though, just to every now and then just say, yeah, I just want to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying, even if it's a fairly simple point, and explain it back and
Mm-hmm.
see. Because here's the thing though, right? If you do this, the repeat backs on fairly simple things, you sometimes discover that what somebody said is according to them when you repeat it back. And let's say you give a really accurate repeat back. I mean, you're just shifting the order of the words, like, you're just putting the sentence in passive or active tense, whatever. So you're really not changing what they're saying, right? And you're using their words, but you're just changing the order. So you are giving an accurate repeat back. And then they're like, no, that's not actually what I meant. And they realize what they said is not what they themselves meant. And this is a big deal, and this is very powerful, and this is quite surprising. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
It's always nice to rehear what
yeah,
you think you said because it can be
exactly,
different. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly, exactly, exactly.
Next task is explain an abstract concept like impeccability, patience, trust, etc. to friends or family and also strangers if possible. Then ask them to repeat back what they understand.
I'm remembering this now. Yeah.
What did you notice?
Yeah.
Yeah, is this one here as appropriate?
You shared with us on this.
Yeah, we did this
Right.
one already. Do we
So
need to?
a point, I think we did cover it, but one of the key points for repeatbacks is to get into a space with our communications that the more we are doing these and sharing, because we already know what's being said, we are just rephrasing it. It allows us that perspective that we can hear how our what's coming out is being said, and so we get that perspective. First of all, we can hear ourselves because we are saying something that's familiar. But then also, as you get into this practice of hearing yourself, you get into a space where you can start paying attention not to the content. So it's not like your attention's not on the stream of stuff coming out, as it were, right? Because your attention can be inside, then you can shift it to outside to the stream. You shift it to the consequence. You shift it to seeing how is what I am saying making a difference in the bigger context. Is what am I saying appropriate here? What are the implications on the person of what I'm saying? How is it affecting them? And this is a very, very, very different modality for communication.
Hmm.
That's a very big
Yeah,
deal.
talk about that some more. I think there's a lot more to that.
Yes, there is a lot to that. All right, so this isn't just in the repeatbacks. Repeatbacks is just a mechanism for doing this. This comes to the capital H hearing. We don't want to just hear others, we also want to hear ourselves. So when we express anything, and we want that practice of expression, which the repeatbacks are a nice way to practice expression, when you start to hear yourself, first we listen to ourselves inside our head, and stuff is all going in there, and like I saw on internet somewhere, according to like psychologists or whoever, we don't think in words, we think in conceptions. And
Mhm.
that's why when we express something, we're now taking conception and putting it into words. So that's the first step that happens in any kind of communication. But typically we tend to be listening to the conceptions, and that's where those shadow thoughts and it's all muddled. Okay, we get it all more or less cleared out, and then we start to put it into words. With the repeatbacks, because we have already paid attention to the meaning, it's somebody else's meaning, we are just re-expressing it. We're not thinking about what this means and what the content is. We are purely paying attention to the word, so then we can listen to ourselves actually expressing it, and you can hear the words come out. So now we're going from inside our head to outside our head. And the more we practice this, because again, the content is not the issue, we can start paying attention to how what we say has an effect on the other. So now you can watch. I'm saying something, and you're watching as you are saying it. You are watching how the other person is connecting to what you're saying, is listening, the implications that are coming up into them. For instance, like if you repeat back something, and by implication they like, yeah, but wait a minute. Oh, I didn't realize that's what I said, but oh, I do realize, yes, it is what I said, but actually it's not what I meant. And now you see all of that happening, and this is very powerful. And
Mhm.
also you get to see and watch. For instance, I'm sharing whatever my story is, and I see it's not connecting with somebody, right? And then I can just cut it off, shorten it, and say, just tie it up and loosely, and just move on to something else, because it's not resonating, it's not connecting, and they don't really care if you finish the story or not, because they're shifting, they're somewhere else. So they're not even going to hear that you don't finish your stuff like that. So we can really start to communicate and monitor the effect and consequence of our communications in real time. And that's a good skill to develop. It's a very good skill to
Yeah,
develop.
it's interesting. As you're talking about it, I'm trying to think. I can see that times where that has happened in the therapy session, and I also can remember more times where that happens with Bill. If he says something and I repeat back, and he always goes no, and it's his word. He said, "That is not what I said."
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Wow.
Or that's
Wow.
not what I meant.
There's the
Something.
key. There's the key. Now, we need to listen very closely when people say, oh, that's not what I said. Typically, when they say, that's not what I said, they mean, that's not what I meant. Yeah. So that's kind of a nice quote there, actually. Typically, when people say, that's not what I said, what they mean is, that's not what I meant. They confuse the two, right? Yeah. I mean, and you can say, yeah, that is what you said, but not what you meant.
Yeah.
Is that Bill?
Bill, here's Bill. Say hi.
Hi.
Talking to you.
Who's talking to me? What?
Because I told him he goes, next time he comes on.
I can't see him.
No,
No, I didn't.
No, he don't.
My joke is wasted.
What he does to my,
I was just talking without sound. I was talking.
I'm looking at the picture that's not moving.
Yeah.
Oh, he was looking at that Beena, not me.
Yeah, I'm looking at her picture and I'm saying what?
Yeah, good excuse.
I was going.
It was there.
I was just talking, flapping my lips without sound.
I can hear perfectly fine.
But he was teasing. He was doing what you do to Mimi.
What you're saying.
Yeah, no, exactly. Exactly.
I'm gonna go. I said, "Oh my God, he does that to my mom."
Yeah.
Okay.
You all right, Bill?
I'm fine.
Okay, good. Brilliant.
I'm fine.
All right. So much for our joke. It just flopped entirely, but
okay.
oh well.
Have a good day.
You too, Bill. You too, Bill. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
That was fun anyway. Sometimes when they flop, they're even more fun. So.
No, I know him. He knew what you were doing. He didn't want to admit that he was getting a little dose of his medicine.
Yeah, that's what I feel too. But all right, we'll let him have it.
Yeah. He goes, "No, I didn't hear him." Yeah.
He kept a good straight face though. He's
good at that. He's good at that.
Yeah. So listening to the implications of what we say. Mm-hmm. Not the content, but how it affects and the consequence it has and how it's been related to. This allows us that ability to adjust on the fly. Beena, you have anything to add on this?
So the implications of what we say is more important than the context.
Often, absolutely often. Not always, but often. Yes. Because, we can say something that's fairly simple. And sometimes you see how it's connecting with somebody. And you say, we see that what they are hearing is like a critique when it's not what I implied, but that's what they're hearing. And that's what they're feeling. And you see them get uncomfortable. Or you see it's just a disconnection. and it's not resonating. It's not connecting. So it's very useful to pay attention to those implications and consequences. Yeah. It enables us to refine and fine tune and improve our communications, because if we are constantly gauging our communications according to how clearly we understand ourselves, this is not enough. Mm-hmm. Right? So the RepeatBacks, it allows us a measure of, especially when they repeating back against onto us as well, it allows us that feedback mechanism. But it really is, it's a mechanism to shift our hearing, not just to content, but to hearing implications. So Beena, did you have something? Where are you? We're not hearing you, Beena. Are you mute? No, you're not mute. All right. Well, when you connect, Beena, just say we didn't hear you there. So
What were the differences and how were they related to the individual? He was talking about the RepeatBacks.
all right.
For me, Bill was an intent listener and took away exactly what was important and very relatable to him. Bernadette was more interested to listen despite she was at work doing her upholstery work. She likes talking about things like this, and I ended up sharing much more about the program, and that was appropriate to her and other topics that we have discussed. So for her, it opened up a bigger conversation. Where Bill, it's like, okay, got it. This is how it connected. Boom. Okay, you done, Sue? You know, you know. Okay, next, After
well, I think, sorry, I would suspect, since Bill's working with stuff where precision is a critical deal, repeatbacks has to be, I would imagine, has to be part of company policy. You better check and make sure that the person's getting precisely what you know, what you're saying. And in order for that, they have to give it back to you precisely. There's no, do you understand? Yes. No. That's not good enough. So I imagine so.
I guess in training, but then they work off of just blueprints all the time. And, you know, they don't have to.
Yeah, still, whenever you give somebody an instruction, though, you know, on a critical point, you know, so I imagine.
Yeah. And again, for him, he took out what was pertinent and relevant to him.
All right. Okay.
You know.
I got you.
After the repeatback exercise, go over these interactions again in your mind and visualize the individual involved and connect to their intent. How does perceiving and connecting to their intent make a difference? For me, my intent was that they were present and they both had capital H hearing on board. Interesting how different people relate to the same words in different ways. What is important, it comes down to what is important and relevant to them. Are you seeing how these tasks and exercises are training you? Training you for what? To be what? For me, they're surely making my hearing more greatly improved and learning to shut your mouth, darling. That will forever stick. Thank you.
Yes.
This will surely help me to talk less and listen more and help others find resolutions on their own, which to me is priceless. What do you feel you need more training in? Again, you know, I'm just going to have a conversation. It's really hard to know what the hell you need when you're learning it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You know, if you ask me that at the end, I didn't quite get this or whatever, but it was so early into it, and it was just shut your mouth and listen, you know, and hear. So I must have went back to this a couple times.
That was the purpose of that question.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, it really gets you to think that I don't really know what I'm doing. So, you know, I have to just keep at it and keep going and trust and all this. So, yeah.
Trust, yeah. But then I guess, too, from your standpoint, you know, as the facilitator, if you don't catch what they're not getting early on, it's just going to snowball. It's going to snowball.
Exactly. And also you get to hear people's perceptions and ideas, and, you know, you'll be surprised as we go through, you know, how different people are going to respond to that question.
Yeah. So this again was 6 weeks ago. So it'll be interesting to hear what I wrote. For me, understanding the difference from feelings, surprises, and expectations, as they all have a similar result at times. I am not quite sure what to do with them once I notice them. And I think I understand that more now. There's a difference. you know, yes, you're going to always expect things from people, but should you really do that? You know, this is what I'm taking away at this point. To get, you know, yourself out of the damn picture.
Exactly.
The surprises are the part where it's good to be surprised, because then you're out of your own damn head, you know, and you're allowing you to be wrong. You're, you know, it's just surprise is a nicer word than wrong in a sense.
Exactly. And when you get what you expect, that's all you get.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then, you know, feelings, again, you're always want to be connected to what you're feeling, because it is something you're noticing. But again, all of these things are assumptions.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can't be, I didn't, you know, I like having a process in my brain of doing things, but what I think this whole course has showed me that, yeah, there are these components in there, but none of them should take a priority. Otherwise, we disconnect. We don't really get to hear what is really necessary for their growth and for their development.
Exactly.
All right. So perhaps more practicing with me doing a repeat back of what others are saying. Please don't make me go there. We did that the one day. Remember, we did that. Yeah. I wrote, I am not sure that I understand the repeat back process. I understand that it helps in understanding when you repeat it back, but it's never the same as initially said. So again, that confusing component, like why are we emphasizing this? But now I get it. It's because communication is a pretty
it's a haphazard business.
Haphazard business.
Yeah. Now, I just like to get people to do a repeat back in their own words for the reason that we are sharing content. And when you put it in your own words, it allows you to own it.
Sure.
Right?
No.
So
that's
there's the logic. But when we're doing a repeat back with a client, we can absolutely repeat their words, but it does have a bit of a less impact. If I just repeat your words, it doesn't really mean I'm actually listening to you. You know, not as a proof, because a parrot can do that too. So when you put it in your own words, it forces them to actually listen to what you're saying back. Because now I've got to concentrate.
Yeah.
And this is the point of that repeat back. Please, I want to make sure I'm understanding. I'm repeating it back because this point needs emphasis or clarity. So now when they listen to me and I'm asking them to check me, they have that responsibility on them, right? So now it's like, if I just say, oh, is this what you said? They can say, yeah. You know, it doesn't mean anything. But when I'm checking mine, they can't leave it if I'm not accurate. You see, so I put it in my own words to kind of force them for that emphasis. Now
they have to make a choice.
Exactly, they have to make a choice, and the point itself is emphasized. So this is cool. This is a very cool mechanism, and I don't have to know anything about anything to be able to do a repeat back on what you said. Bill can come and talk about something technical, and I can give him a repeat back.
Yeah,
I don't have to know. I'm just rearranging the words, you know. So I actually don't have to understand.
Interesting. There was one of the techniques that I do defies that at every level.
Wow. In what way?
It's somato-emotional release work, okay, where you get in touch. I mean, I hold two spaces, anterior and posterior, of the person where the energy is off, you know, in the body, whether it's their solar plexus, their pelvic region, it doesn't matter, their throat, whatever, okay? So then they go inside using really as much as they can only their right brain. So they're I don't want them analyzing and thinking and rationalizing. I want them to go in there and feel. So that's why I encourage and emphasize the need of that right brain to really be on board. I tell them to go put your left brain out in the car, walk it out there, put it out in the porch, whatever. Okay.
Wow.
So in that process, it was critical, as we were taught, when they describe what they feel or see inside of them. It could be an object, it could be a person, it could be a color, it could be a temperature. It doesn't matter. I am only capital ONLY, completely, that I never use any words other than theirs. So for me, it was a real, a real learning process to not use my interpretation of it.
I see the value in that case, correct.
Okay. So like just as simple as somebody says, I see a wagon. Okay. Does this wagon have a color, or, you know, is it big? Is it little? I can ask questions like that to help them along. And they'll say, it's a red wagon. I can't go back and say, oh, okay, so there is a little red wagon. She never said the word little.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So it's critical because those components to them have a significance.
Oh, absolutely critical to use exact, precise words only.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the logic here is that when you say it, when they rehear it, it comes back into it's like it goes out one way and it comes back, but it doesn't go back into the same brain. So that brain that hears you say it is a brain that will allow them to remember that. When they were speaking it from that memory, it's like you from inside the dream. You need to take the dream out of dream brain and move it into other brain in order to remember the dream. That's why we forget it, because it's inside a different brain. So this is an important thing. So what you are doing in that case is also enabling them to later remember what they were sharing with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's critical. I mean, we can go an hour, and I got to remember all these exact words from all these different things. It's really can get complex because I can't write anything down. I have to hear. So what I do is I zone. I focus on one thing, like a bunch of flowers or my curtains or something, so that I don't lose. If I lose that connection, I'm screwed.
Oh, absolutely. Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
screwed,
Oh,
you know?
I said don't focus.
In those, I remember the one girl with the red wagon. I said, so, I mean, that's the words, that was the only components that came out of it. And I said, so my next question is, so what's the significance? What is the connection for you to that red wagon? And, you know, she said, my grandfather bought me that red wagon. And then it got in that the grandfather, you know, there was an abuse situation there, you know. But it's fascinating. I mean, even another woman had pelvic issues, and that's all I knew was she has bad periods. You know, that's all she would share. And when I worked on her and did the somato on her pelvic region, it came up as black. I said, okay, tell me about black. Is it wet? Is it dry? Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it big? Is it little? Is it matte? Is it shiny? You know, whatever. And she gets to just, so finally she said, it's shiny. It's all you know, like not a perfect form. She said, I said, what does that black shiny remind you of or have significance? And it was coal. And she burst into tears. I said, coal. I said, what's the connection to coal? And here it was again, a grandfather who was a coal miner who was sexually abusing her. So this is all.
It's fascinating how often that is. Like, come on, people, seriously, man. How up are you, for crikey's sake? Yeah.
But this is all the stuff that's stuck in them. So again, she ends up with all kinds of pelvic disorders and so forth, because those cells are holding that memory. So it's about then recognizing what is there, you know. And again, all this, it really does connect to what we do here, is about bringing to the surface those buried things so that they can make a connection and then choose. And they always have the choice of how to remedy that. I don't tell them how to get rid of it. They choose. They can blow it up. They can walk it out, you know, put it in a boat and drop it in the deep abyss. It doesn't matter, because then they get the choice to put in that space what is helpful and for them and only them, not what I want them to put in there, you know. But it's interesting. It's interesting.
And even that, you know, that preciseness is very important. Like you said, the red wagon as opposed to the little red wagon. You don't know our significance. She could have gotten the red wagon, and she had a sibling who got the little red wagon, a younger one, and it's two different red wagons. So we have to be, the precision is absolutely critical there. Now, also, it's about the assumptions. You say little red wagon, and then you shift their brain to thinking of the sister's little red wagon. It's a whole different conversation.
Right? 100%.
So you have to that in now, even in our hearing in the repeat back. Sometimes you do want to repeat back an exact statement.
Yeah.
When somebody says something that has a weighted significance to it, and you say, you repeat it back and say, "Did I hear you correctly? Is this what you were saying?" And then they're like, "Oh," and all you're doing is you're just emphasizing.
Sure.
So
Sure. Exactly.
it's an emphasis repeat back. You're drawing awareness and attention to it because they may have said it and not realized what they said. And sometimes the wording, the precise wording, it's messed up wording. And then when you repeat it back, is this what you meant to say? Yes, what you said, and then they're like, I didn't realize I said it that way. And sometimes it's a Freudian thing, that kind of stuff, or sometimes it's just a significance, and then they're like, okay, and then they elaborate. So yeah, so repeat back sometimes, in general, depending on what the purpose of the repeat back is, but oftentimes you are saying it back exactly. Yes, yeah, just for emphasis. Yeah. It's not always in your own words.
Right. Right.
That's for that emphasis of them, for the choice to accept the thing, especially when it's kind of their own resolution, then it's like really when you say it back and say, okay, help me make sure, I want to make sure I understand, is this what you said, is this what you are saying? And now it's different, but now you're forcing them to listen and to choose. So that's very powerful.
And again, I mean, I can always hear you about cleaning it up a little bit, which
there's that too.
No, it's not their exact words, but cleaning it up to me is kind of by like conceptualizing it a little bit more. Yes, you use some of their words. And then that's when you see it happening all the time in people. It happens to me as well. Yep, that sums it all up. Yes,
exactly. And that's a profound gift that we have. Yeah. I'm really not adding content. I'm just re-expressing it into a memorable or a quotable or a mnemonic way. So this is powerful. Beena, you got something to add?
No, I was listening. Thank you.
You're very soft, Beena.
No, you guys already said that, and I'm listening.
You're still soft.
Oh, really?
Yeah, now it's better.
Okay, so I was really enjoying that.
Oh, good. Okay.
So, Bill just sent a text. He said, "What did you say?" He goes, "I can't hear
you." He's a master in this. He can do this on text too.
Yes.
So continue on. What I need more training. I want to get better at hearing the implications, as they are critical, certainly for resolutions. To get better at formulating the question properly from the implications made, so they can figure things out for themselves. Perhaps this making space for all these different things, is it a knowing of what is needed from their implications, so I can create that particular space for them? And then there is the whole thing about trusting in what I don't know, as it will come eventually. I'm having trouble in actual interactions with people and practicing capital H hearing, and also having a conversation. I can surely capital H hear when I'm in the background, but when it's a live interaction, things seem to go haywire and I can't concentrate like I need when I was completely silent and only listening. So again, I think that was, like, oh my God, this is all I can do. Now you're live in front of somebody. What do you sit there like a deaf mute? You can't. You have to have that interaction, But again, there's my training brain that like, okay, there's a purpose here, and I don't do anything simply. It's full. Try to be full immersion in it, that when I'm learning it. So
there is something that's come up too, where it comes a little later too, that the ability to be able to be comfortable with the uncomfortable silence. This is a very powerful skill.
Yeah, and I let that happen. Remember, I told you, which is something I've always struggled with. You know, my mom cued me my whole life, you know, fill that space, you know, and I let people know, "Look, you don't want to talk, don't talk, you know, even when
It's
I'm getting a
huge.
massage. There's
It's
times
huge.
I don't want to say a word, you know. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it is
And
really important to learn that skill.
so
Yeah.
there is a logic to it also, or at least a rationale or reason for having that, because somebody will share a story, and then you just sit there. Now it's clear from their cueing and the implication that, okay, here's the end of my story, but you just sit there like you're waiting for more, like you just assume there's more, and then they're like, um, I mean, I'm exaggerating, and the internal space, and they're
Right.
like, and then they come with more.
Wow. Oh. So it's an encouragement to say more.
Yes, but it's an
Silent.
implication. It's an accept. It's not even an encouragement. It's an accepted implication that there is more, and you're just acting. Well, of course there's more, and you're just waiting for the more. And they're like, but I thought I was finished. Didn't you understand that I finished? And you just like, you're not even reacting to that. You just keep waiting. Oh, they like really think there is more. Well, there must be more, and then they start. Oh, there must be more. The moment they have that thought, more comes, and then you hear that additional, that extra tail, and sometimes there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. It can just keep coming sometimes, and you open that door, because the first share will be usually what is the sort of stuff that they feel it's okay to say,
Mm-hmm.
right? What sort of standard, what's acceptable. But then you say, well, okay, your attitude is, the space you're making is, well, I know there's more, and this is the typical thing that clients come and they don't share everything. So okay, I'm just waiting. All right, I understand it's maybe a bit awkward, but okay. And then they share, and it gets deeper and deeper and more personal and more intimate, and so then you get that real juicy stuff. This is
Yeah.
a very, very powerful thing. So that's where that awkward silence is incredible. And of
Yeah.
course, you're also doing it. You don't make it awkward, because you're just like chill, and but you're also attentive, right? So then they also realize, oh, you know what? I can say the more. I didn't know if I could, but now I realize I can, because I've said the usual stuff and they're expecting more. So that expectation, that assumption, it is an indirect cueing to share more. So it's very powerful, very, very, very powerful.
Yeah.
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 But first they have to get out the usual stuff. They seldom
Exactly.
start with that deeper stuff.
Yeah.
They have to get that first, and it goes in layers and it goes in stages.
It's no different too, when they fill out their intake form, what's your primary reason or something, whatever. I think
Yeah.
for coming here today.
Yeah.
And they write this very kind of formal,
Yes.
diagnosis or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it really usually has never anything to do
They
with all
write they write what they think they're expected to say,
that's
and
right.
then they will start to say what they think they're expected to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you create that space to say, hey, I want to hear the stuff that you don't think that I'm going to be wanting to hear, that you're not expected to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to hear your lies. I want to hear your BS. I want to hear your intimate stuff. I want to hear your doubts and your fears. I want to hear how you've been, full of nonsense. I want to hear your moreness. I want to hear how you feel you've been exceptional. All of this stuff. So anything you can't usually say, that's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very powerful. Very powerful. Very powerful.
Think back on some conversations where you heard one side of the story. Make the effort to go and find out the other sides to the story, as many as you can. Then write out the implications of the differences, if there are any. For me, hearing the two different sides of the story from Chelsea and Tim, he sees his commitment as self-help, and she sees him as an awful side of this coming out in him. Like his help to her is an awful part of him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because he's being truthful.
Yeah.
Yeah. He exposes the awful truth and the facts, and she refuses to hear them. Yeah. That's really, but it's interesting when you do sit back, because that's, I get a lot of couples and, and it really gets tricky. you know, some therapists won't even do couples because of the what do you call it, the what would be the word, because
Getting in the middle.
In the middle of it, yeah, getting them, getting in the middle of it. But I've often thought, how do you refuse, you know, yeah, you hear one side, but you need to hear that other side. Somewhere in the middle lies the truth.
Exactly,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. You can't shy away from it.
Yeah. So next task is pay attention to when somebody, you know, tells a story and then retells it later. Notice how the story is different, if so, but not because of some agenda or motivation, can be, but simply because the memory is now triggered differently. Notice how when a story is different, we assume the person is telling it has some agenda or not so good motivation. Yes, this of course happens, but here we are making the point to pay attention to how memory and re-expression works or can work. For me, I hear Bill. Go ahead.
Sorry. That was the other point of the repeatbacks, is that you know, to really realize that people will say something and then they remember what they say, and the two are not the same. Especially if you come back later, it's completely changed. It's not that they're being dishonest. It's just that memory, especially when it comes to vocal communication and how people actually hear themselves, what they think they say, what they heard themselves say, all different things.
Can be two different things. Yeah.
3, 4 different things. You know, there's the thought, there's the actual expression, then there's the subsequent what they heard themselves say or thought they said. You know, and then the belief of what they actually said, which is all like 4 different things, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, I can actually hear myself going through that and struggling, like, that's not really what I said before, that's really not what I meant before, and I'll change it, and sometimes I'll go, well, what are you saying? You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What is fascinating is that what people say here and what comes out here, and then what loops back into their ear, right? In that process, they will rearrange the timeline of when things are said. So if you put it on video, right, and when you hear them repeat back what they say, they will say, oh, but I said this first. And you know, on video, they didn't say that first. They will rearrange it in their mind because it should have been that way. So yeah, it's fascinating how people actually, and they are sincere. They really believe what they said was in that order that they meant it to be, but it's not. So yeah.
And I find myself lots of times, if I repeat a story, it's different. Yeah. It's like there's more added, or it's just, you know, it's weird. Yeah. For me, I hear Bill tell stories multiple times. He is very interesting, as his words are pretty much the same. The only thing I hear is his intent to make sure that he has been noticed or heard and wants verbal appreciation. As for others, including myself, when I repeat a story, it's different every time. It is. Sometimes it is just because I have new input that I am remembering, or just my unconscious need to embellish maybe a bit. I don't know, perhaps BS. I don't know that I have noticed someone with a not so good agenda in the repeats, but I will surely pay more attention to that in the future. Yeah, I don't know that if I had anybody that I can think of, maybe since then, who is trying to tell me something that had a not so good agenda attached to it. Yeah. You know,
somebody may just be trying to like impress you, for instance, and they change the story a bit.
Oh, that's true. Okay, that would fit. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, people are feeling a bit insecure, so they bolster the story a bit more. There's all sorts of reasons why the stories change, you know. So, like you said, you know, sometimes I've told the story so many times, I'm telling it a little differently, you know. So you just kind of have fun with your stories a little bit, you know. And
Yeah.
depending on the nature of the story, you know, sometimes you can kind of ham up a story a little bit, and everybody knows that you're hamming it up.
Yeah.
You add a little bit of hyperbole to it. You know, this is the fun of storytelling. It depends on the story, you know. So
But so about the incidents happen, and when you are sharing in some context, it is I observe that when I share, there is always more, because before that, like if I'm sharing something with Sue now, and I hardly shared this before with anyone, it will be like that because of that context, particular context. I'll
correct,
remember
correct,
more
correct.
details
Oh yeah,
relevant to
oh
that.
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh,
So
absolutely.
it
And that's
happens.
the fun of it.
It, with the,
Oh, that's the
yeah,
fun of it.
in
Yeah.
context, we remember different things, because
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
this time when I'm sharing a story, it's not because that, oh, I'm just
Yeah.
sharing my memories with
Yeah.
Sue, but it is some in some context that, oh,
Yes.
it
Correct.
reminds me of
Yeah.
that thing.
Mhm.
So that might be the detail I never remembered before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was
Yes. Yes.
triggered by something else.
Each time we
Yeah,
tell a story, more comes. Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fascinating. And like you said, you know, it's contextually appropriate and specific. And then you hear details that were pertinent or that are pertinent and relevant now, but weren't so before. So that changes the story quite considerably. Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
It's very powerful. Very powerful. Very cool as well.
How would this understanding and nuanced perception be a benefit with a client when it comes to asking them to reshare something? For me, seeing the fact that when repeatbacks of the same story occur, it is sometimes because they are still processing clarification of that situation for themselves each and every time they tell it. Now, in the case of an inappropriate agenda at hand, their stories will tend to conflict more as as they may be lies that they can't remember, so they need to make up some more. So I think it's a way to kind of weed out truths, you know, or bullshit or whatever, you know, by repeat backs.
Yeah.
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 Can we assume we get all the details the first time? For me, absolutely not. We need to process info, and so does the speaker. You know, yeah, yeah. Some more text here. We must practice and hone. We must practice and hone the professional skill of capital H hearing every chance we get, as it implies not only to people, but everything, like the entire world, the wind and animals, because we are listening and hearing intent. Intent reveals what is really under the surface.
Yeah.
Practice capital H hearing. Let go of any beliefs or ideas as to what you think might happen or be about when happen or be about what you might hear. Let go of any expectations and allow in the expectation to hear what you do not expect. You just need to let your capital H hearing let in what comes. When what comes to you, you must make the space to let it come in. This is essential.
That's huge. That's huge. Yeah.
Capital H hearing lets you feel another and you feel beyond them. We are feeling moreness. We are feeling intent. We are feeling what is not being said. We are especially feeling implications, but be mindful to feel past the emotions of the client. There is more to feel.
No.
Feeling here is about the active outgoing process of discovery and exploration instead of the passive incoming and only receiving. The goal is to have our own moreness activated by feeling the entirety of the matters is what matters. The skill of paying exquisite attention to implications is when we get to open up to the world. This skill needs to be practiced and exercised constantly. Everything has implications. You can practice this when you are looking at, dealing, or hearing anything whatsoever. Implications reveal the world is the quote.
Yes, that's a very powerful quote there. Wow. Oh, yeah. Right.
Understanding that we may be utterly and completely aware that we may be completely wrong in our perception of hearing, understanding, beliefs, and insights can know that it can absolutely exist.
Yeah.
If this awareness is not present, it will cause trouble.
Yes.
We think we know the client, and the client thinks we know, but we can both be completely wrong. When we hear from the place that is far beyond us, we also need to open that part of ourselves up that sets ourselves aside and accepts the fact that we can be wrong. The quote is, "We could never forget how possible it is for us to be wrong. We must stay humble." When we stay alive in our jungles, we stay alive in our jungles because we all have the skill of connecting to implications unless you have lost the habit of consciously connecting to implications. The implications outside the bubble of awareness are usually what problems are really all about. Hear those implications and you will hear the client. Do not tell the client what those implications are. Just your hearing them reflects the implications back to the client. Remember, awareness is interactive. Your thoughts and feelings are not as private as you think they are. Do we have time for one task?
Oh, we can go. Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
Everyone is capable of surprising us.
Yeah. Which is a good
We
thing.
can all learn and grow.
Sure.
So when we have that as an expectation, as a cueing, changes everything.
Yeah.
Somebody might not have been on the path to surprise us or themselves, but that expectation, you can do more, you can be more, you can be different. That's a huge deal.
Yeah. The task is engage in a capital H hearing interaction where someone is struggling to understand something. Just listen, hear until understanding comes, and share what resulted. What did you need to do? What influenced or affected the coming to understanding? How did thinking things through to the end come into it and make a difference if it did? Again, this was 6 weeks ago with Sherry. I just had to get everybody in place, that she comes from a big family. Matthew is her grandson. Christian is her nephew. Anne is Christian's girlfriend and a massage therapist who wants to rent space from her lower level of Sherry's house for her therapy. And
Christian and Anne are going to rent it, and Anne's
Correct.
going to use it for therapy. Okay.
Correct. And she has vivid light dreams or something. So the feelings I got from her were starting to feel more awareness in her. She really lives in her own little world. She doesn't like people if she's really not benefiting from them. Immersion is more limited now than I've heard before. I get a sense of depression. There was a sense of sadness, but also that there was, interestingly, more confidence in there that particular day. So my expectations were, and this is funny because my expectation list was this big. My surprises was this big. Which is cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Expectations. She has immersions of choice. I expect she has people choices. I don't know if that's good, bad, or others, but stays in her bubble immersions. She has a limited perspective. She's lacking clarity, overly, inappropriately independent in some cases. Hates being controlled, She has conditional friendships and hates restrictions placed on her. But the surprises is that she is using these self-conceptions, that she does do a lot of observing. I was surprised that she did actually do boundary settings. That she is open to possibilities. She does think things through to the end, or at least that day with this law thing or something with a contract or something. Once she wants independence of being, immersion bubbles are her choosing, like in her art. I was surprised that she had that. No family pulls. She is getting more clarity. There's no obligations or expectations from others. Her impeccability in areas, helping others to self-growth, accepting assistance from Christian on the house maintenance, because again, she says, I can do everything, but she accepted help. That she expressed that she has detachment concerns, self-expression, respect needed for her independence, doing anything necessary for learning, wants pleasure and joy, and wants to make new friends, like in the case of her art teacher. And my questions that I would have said to her was like, really, how long do you really know Anna? That she would allow all this. Did she really think that through the end? And did you think things through to the end? What if she is less absent and she has given them a lot of freedom to use that bonus space in her house, and then she wants to come back? Did she really think, how is she going to take that space away from them? But she sounded like maybe I did ask her that day, and she said that she's already made that clear, that you can have it when I'm not here, but when I come back, it's mine again, type of a thing.
And I suggested a very simple mechanism, with a text to say, okay, if you get a text and I respond, I'm here. If not, I'm not here. So,
There you go.
And she does have a mechanism where she can lock the door on her side.
Sure. There you go.
If the door's locked, you can't use it. It's very simple.
There you go. Yeah. Resolutions. It appeared that she knew that she had to clearly state her boundaries surrounding the possible renting of her home. Once she thought everything through, it really made more sense to her. So she did. I mean, she does have that. There's things I hear her where she really does think it through to the end.
She doesn't stay with the resolutions, though.
Yeah.
She has it and she gets clarity, and then the next day it's the whole problem all over again.
All over again. Yeah.
Despite having thought it, there's no trust of her own decisions, right, Beena? Is that an accurate assessment?
Yes, for Sherry, absolutely. It's a different thing, and she is different from sure, but one thing is same, that when Sybil starts saying something, I got it, got it. Oh, got it. Okay, that's it. Like, no more single word needed now. So it is. She understands the value. Actually, these are the people who see the value, but they don't feel ready to get there. So they're just simply refusing.
Problem.
Yeah, you're right. It's because she still lets all that drama in there, and she may close it that one instance, but she's not seeing that to be able to use it later on down the road again.
Exactly.
And it's the same. It's a repeat. I mean, the drama that exists in her life, it's all self-created. It's all self-created between Tom and, but she got to take care of him. I mean, there's a lot of obligation, but she wants to be independent. She don't want to take care of him, but then she does. Pick a lane, honey. Get in the lane and drive. Yeah. Looks like I didn't answer. Why would someone not want to connect to their awesome truth about themselves? Share also observations of how awful in truth impacts others and their learning and growing. I'm surprised. I didn't write anything down, but I think people are afraid to connect to their awesome truth because they don't see the power of learning and growing that's really behind it. It's easier to stay in that awful truth and not want to say it because they don't know the power of that awful truth turning into the awesome truth. It's fear. I think it's a lot of it's fear.
Oh, and responsibility.
And responsibility. There you go. Yeah. Fear and
That's the big thing. I mean, responsibility is there for many people.
Yeah.
Like awesome truth, boy, they don't want to deal with that responsibility that implied. And effort.
Yeah. Again, it's too hard for them. Absolutely.
No.
Yeah.
But just also, there's an implication that you're going to have to do a lot more.
Yeah.
I don't want to be doing all that stuff. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll stop there.
Okay.
There's more tasks, but we'll stop there. Have you have or have not done more? Are there more modules and stuff in there?
Yeah. We have done more. It needs a bit more, and then I'll probably put it up later today. So.
Okay, good. Because tomorrow, oh no, tomorrow I can't. It was today that I had open, but that's no biggie. It's no biggie. It'll wait.
Okay.
You know. So.
Well, I'll put up what I have so far, and then you can do that because it goes up to one section of tasks and exercises.
Oh, okay. Do that. Yeah. Do that. Absolutely. That's perfect.
I'll do it right now.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, appreciate it. Okay.
Oh, sure. It might be ugly, but it's there.
Huh? It's what?
It might be ugly, but it's there.
That's all right. That's all right. Never ugly. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okie dokie. All right, guys. Well. Yeah. I'll look for the next shirt that you're wearing now.
Oh, right.
Yeah. If I can, I really wanted to get on yesterday and hear Kay, but I didn't. I wasn't able to get on. And tomorrow she's on again.
Correct.
I'm supposed to be doing. Huh?
10 my time, 1 your time.
Yeah. If I get on, it might be when I'm in the car driving home from
That's fine.
New Jersey, because I have to do, if I'm done, I have a private jewelry show tomorrow that I'm kind of telling people, ooh, come, I'll give you even better prices. So the people I've met in New Jersey, I'm making them think that it's,
wow. Wow.
But,
very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So. Excellent. I might not get to put it up today. Slides, where we make the slides, slides.com, they are experiencing an unexpected server outage, so I can't access. So
don't worry about it. Don't worry. I'll figure. But thanks for letting me know. Yeah, that I won't expect it. Yeah, I'll do something else.
Well, I'll message you when I get it up. So.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. All righty.
Very good.
Hey guys.
Brilliant. I'm enjoying going through this the session, the hearing, the notes. Been waiting for a long time of it, and it's nice to hear how the changes have come since then. Very cool.
A difference in 6 weeks' time. It's crazy, Yeah. Okay. All righty, guys. Have a good day.
How's it going with the latest clients?
Huh?
I wanted to hear about your most recent clients that you've had.
Yeah, they're that stroke one yesterday. Now for the rest of this week, I only had 3 others and they've all canceled.
Oh, wow. For what reason, or any particular reason?
Some didn't give any. They just said, I need to reschedule, and I said, and I just text them back and say, no problem, whenever, let me know, one of them.
It's 3 though. That's why I mentioned it.
Yeah. What's that?
It just seems unusual that you had 3.
Yeah.
But, that opens up other possibilities. So.
Exactly. And plus I kind of, there's a piece of me that wants to get the jewelry thing seems like a monkey on my back.
Yes, I agree. Get rid of it. Get it out. It is a monkey on your back. It is distracting you. I mean, we see it very, very clearly, right?
And it is something that when that feeling came back to me this past 2 weeks, oh, I hated it. I hated being pulled away from something I really want to be doing more.
Yeah,
of.
exactly,
You know,
exactly.
so
You feel it pulling you and
uh,
distracting you, and
yeah.
it's not good.
And you know, I don't know if I made the right decision with my web people. You know, they ended up, I have now $1,000 or $1,500, I forget what it is, credit with them. You know, and if I ditch the jewelry, you know, yes, maybe they can do more stuff in my therapy website, maybe get we can talk about it, and I can get this more incorporated inside of it and attach it somehow to my therapy website for facilitating at this end. And so I'm sure I can spend that money, but you know, I may not have had to been forced to spend that money.
Exactly.
I mean, I'll let them do a few posts, social media, if I still have stuff to sell.
Yeah.
But I don't think I really want to, once it's gone or down, that I'll probably just donate probably what's left instead of killing myself.
Yeah.
I think I really want to be done with it.
Nice,
because in my head, I was all ready to let go of it. I was, you know, clean up my basement with all these bags and reorganize it, because it's always out and ready for shows for me to do, and I can just pick this bag up, pick that bag up, and fill them and go. Still, I just don't. It's not in me. I mean, I love making it, but when
not
you're
there anymore,
when it's an obligation, you know,
it's the worst.
yeah.
It just drains you. It doesn't add to you. It drains you. It's not a good thing. So whenever we feel obligated, it detracts in it. Yeah.
And it's a pressure, you know, like if there's a day that I'm not with clients or not on Zoom, I have that obligation. Oh my God, I better get downstairs and create, you know, and produce more pieces. And, you know, I've learned over the years that creativity, sometimes you just can't turn that switch on. It's you got to feel that, you know, or it takes me forever to make a piece. And then I just say, Sue, you are not supposed to be down here. Push yourself away from this workshop and go do something else, you know. Good. So
brilliant.
so the clients are, you know, what they are, but now it's starting to slow down again, because I think people are feeling that there's just this other wave coming in. And they're just
and that's good for you too, because it's, you know, even with masks and everything, there's still a bit of risk involved. So
there is, and I have people who refuse to wear a mask.
Wow. Well, that's all different.
But what am I going to say? I mean, my massage therapist says, you don't wear a mask, you don't get the service.
I would say the same, seriously.
You know, but
I mean, it's just too dangerous, man. You know, really. Come on.
Yeah. So we'll see. But I took all.
You can just say, look, it's an insurance thing.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. And he says, I'm following CDC. I don't want to get turned in. I don't want anybody to get sick.
Exactly. And that is an insurance thing. If somebody does get sick from coming to you, whether they chose not to wear the mask or not, the insurance company might say, oh, Sue's responsible. You know, so. Just, not insurance liability then, you know. It's just like, hey, it's, you know, just for us to cover ourselves. Sorry, got to do it. So. It's not, now it's not your decision, you see. And then people, because they're embarrassed, some of them, to wear the mask for whatever reason. Then say, okay, well, I got to, it's, you know, regulations. All right. You know. This gives them an out, you know, to soothe their egos. So.
Sure.
As well, too, are you practicing or trying to do some of the stuff on Zoom or no? That you can do on Zoom or not? None of those clients are Zoomable?
Right now, no, they're not the Zoomable type.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'm going to certainly open those avenues up, especially if we get shut down. I'm going to call them all and say, hey, you know, because even if I'm doing reflexology, we're talking about themselves and they get so much out of it. And I know that's why they come, not just to have their feet worked on, you know. But
yeah.
I did want to say again, if I didn't express myself clearly, um, was the fact about the opportunity to get to work with Rachel.
Yeah.
It really hit me the other day of what an opportunity you guys gave me. You know, for a moment at first I thought, oh my God, am I ready for this? You know, but I said, wow, geez, they must really feel that, you know. And again, I'm excited to even do. No, it's not. Yeah, it's not the way because it's doing the modules. But I really want to learn how to sit back and hear these modules and how they're getting stuff out of them. So.
Not just Rachel, but Elizabeth also. And Elizabeth is today at 12.
Oh, she is 12 your time.
Yeah.
Which is
So
3 my time.
Yeah, you know, we need to move. We need to move her earlier. You know, when she comes on today, remind me, Beena. I want to move her earlier, both today and on Sundays. You know, then just we get that time. We we can get that little after time, and we don't end up going to bed later. So
Yeah.
so we'll move her 2 hours
All right. Well,
earlier
maybe
on
I
those
can
days.
get on today. I mean, mark that on here.
Yeah. That'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah, it'll be. I like kind of coming back, and you know, there was that intensity of hearing everybody multiple times to come back and maybe hear their differences, their shifts and changes.
Exactly. And to see how the course, how it's developing, how they shift, how they change, where the bottlenecks are, where where the patient's pays off. Oh, it's very important to have that continuity. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, I'll try to get on and listen with
Elizabeth. Yeah.
Elizabeth today at 3:00. Let me mark that down.
Yeah. Brilliant. I love it. Yeah, no, it's an exciting opportunity. I'm very excited about it. So.
No, thank you for that.
Oh,
you know, I just,
pleasure.
then there was a part of me that was like kind of bummed that she didn't show up.
It was for me too. Beena
Oh,
actually
yes.
felt that there was a good chance that she would not be here this week. That it's going to take her a little while to get ready and acclimatize and accustomize. And with Rachel, her idea of what she can do and what she does do is a big difference between the two, somewhat. And I think this is sort of put up or shut up time in her mind.
Yeah.
And so this is she's over taxing herself with expectations here, somewhat. I would expect. So
Interesting.
I mean, it's very fascinating to me how people do the repeatbacks and takeaways, and when they come on from their notes, some like you hear that it's extensive. They go in detail when they read each slide. Their minds go off in different things and they pursue those. They write, they get a lot out of just each slide. Like Elizabeth also gets this. With Sher, it's like, she hardly has a repeat back or a takeaway.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's very minimal. Yeah, you would think there'd be lots more, but no. So they don't get it, and they don't want to say they don't get it.
I don't get it. Yeah.
But they need to get over that hurdle, and I'm going to pressure a little bit on this. And look, I really want to hear your repeatbacks and takeaways. I'm going to make sure that she starts to do it this way, because she hasn't been doing it properly, and she's going to miss the course if she doesn't do it this way.
Yeah.
I mean, she missed the course on Way of Impeccability.
What's that?
She missed a lot of the course on Way of Impeccability because of that.
Yeah. Well, maybe if you have her come in and listen to other people's
she has, yeah. Which I think is part of the problem. Now if she shares and there's a big discrepancy, that bubble that she's in,
she gets something different or not.
Right. It's by contrast, now the implications to the contrast. So
there's that comparative mindset.
Exactly. It's a problem. So we just have to encourage her and find a diplomatic way to do this. There are ways. I know what I can do on it, so I will. I've been sort of thinking that because this is so key in what she wants to do, that she may be a bit more motivated. But she's also getting to that. I kind of know it. I get it. And then she says she came yesterday in the session, and she said, "I want to go over you with a few of these lines. I didn't understand them." So that was encouraging. So
wow. There you go.
Well, it was just in the task, so it wasn't as much.
But still,
Yeah, yeah,
at
yeah,
least there's an admission.
yeah,
That,
yeah. So it's very interesting. It's been a thing that's come up with her, at least just for us. She hasn't mentioned anything about it in very indirect ways, but her libidinous activities or Venus benefit here. She's in the market, and she sort of doesn't want to really acknowledge that. She's feeling that pressure of being without for a while now. So
mm,
yeah, so this is very interesting. I mean, somebody need of a booty call. That's her
yeah,
right now.
yeah.
This is an important point. So it's very interesting that on her last night, she put up on her page after our session, which we were talking, and it didn't come up in the session, which was interesting. But just things that came up that she's really done with the tailoring. She's struggling. She needs to shift and move. She's starting a course on. I have to read I have to read the exact title for you, otherwise I won't remember. So she has a group and also a page, which she called Show Unbound. I'll screen share with you here in a second. Which is a way of impeccability name that I give her for the quotes, as opposed to Show Speaks or Sherry Shares or whatever. It's a better name. So she has actually made a website, which is pretty nice. So you
Mhm.
see here, this is the post she made in her group or page. I don't know whichever it is. I think it's a page, but she might have a group too. And this is her website, very nice and clean
Wow.
and neat. Yeah, feeling heard. A little blurb there, archives, categories. She writes a lot of stuff. So, it wasn't in here then that she said, or was it? Uh, oh, I thought it was here. Okay, I guess it's in the group. Oh yeah, there are 3 openings left for the first run of Exploring Sensuality and Sexual Liberation, a new 6 weeks guided course focusing on healing your sensual self after trauma or other life-changing events. I need to tell us your life-changing and events. I invite you to take a journey to your deepest inner desires, unlocking the secrets and unleashing your inner, bold, beautiful, feminine self. So that's very interesting to me that, it's never a
Wow.
mention of this, that it's come.
Where did she get Mike? Where did she get that background? I mean, to be able to do that work.
I guess from her life experiences, as a young woman, I guess she was involved
For
in
real? Wow. I,
yeah,
wow. To
I
say that it's a course.
yeah,
I, I mean, help me put this. Something seems completely awry here.
well, it's focused on healing your sensual self after trauma or other life-changing events, and that's her life. I mean, she got into a decent marriage after having been in abusive marriages and all sorts of stuff involved with. Let's put it this way: if you look at her history, you would expect her to be celibate for the rest of her life.
Right.
But
Right.
she's not, because her sensual side is a very important point. So it all comes from her personal experience. So,
Mhm.
I guess fair enough.
But again, you could be getting some people that you don't have the skill set to handle.
I agree. So now she is doing what a lot of the people recommend. That I don't know if she's doing it because of a recommendation, but this is very common. They say put your title out there and gets people to be interested, and then you ask them, what do you expect, what are you looking to get, and then you modify your content relative to the people that are already signing up. This is a recommended method for course creation, and they make a lot of good arguments for it. I personally don't care for it much, but it's valid. It's valid. So she might be doing this. I don't know, because she said to me she'll tell me more as she develops more content. So, because I just commented on the post. She made the post last night, and I commented, said, "Oh, it's cool that you got the course." So we'll hear tomorrow. We'll hear tomorrow. So
My just concern is she can't feel her own stuff, and she's going to be helping others feel
yeah,
and navigate through it when she hasn't completely done that work for
yeah.
herself.
She is good at listening to others. I gotta say, I've seen her in text chain comments, and she's very good at making space, and people really feel heard when chatting to her. She has a remarkable
Yeah, she
skill, and that's just
engages. It's if I've noticed anything, she is an
yeah,
engager. You know, and she puts up questions
right,
that creates comments and conversation and
right,
stuff.
right,
Yeah,
right,
you know.
right. I mean,
Okay.
she has a skill. Sorry, Beena, go ahead.
No, I thought that you were done. Please complete your.
No, that's it. I was done. I was done.
Okay. So for that particular course, she is offering. She already have enough content for that,
Yeah,
and
yeah. She has the content, but the skills, it's
the
a different
skills
deal.
also, because
I
this
feel
is
so.
the particular thing. Because as you already mentioned, Sir,
Yeah,
that
uh-huh.
the life she
Yeah,
lived and
yeah,
the experiences she had for someone else might be that to be a celibate for whole
yeah,
life,
yeah,
but she is not. And I was feeling from the very first day of her, and I shared many times with you that this is
yeah,
a thing, but in a different way. So in this thing, she is. Uh, she's quite well informed, and she had a lot of content and skills also for that.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
Because this is something she can, like, she really
Can own it.
is confident. Yes, exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
yeah. I mean, it's most of the skill is saying essentially, here's what I went through, here's what worked for me, and this might work for you too. So, okay, it's not going to work for everybody. I agree, and I hear you, sure, that, some people might have deeper issues and stuff. All right, I'm assuming she'll have enough sense to refer them elsewhere if she can't deal with it.
Yeah.
But really, it's more of a commiseration thing. It's more of, okay, we hear you, this is it. You don't have to feel bad. You don't have to be blaming yourself. You don't have to feel shame, because you made that whole long post. If you read it, it's all about shame. And when I first talking to her, it was one of the very first things that we talked about. I just went right into it, and I said, when it comes to shame, especially with sexual abuse as a child, that most people feel shame because as a child they were a participant, an active, eager participant. A lot of people assume it's all one-sided. Hell no. And every, oh, you poor thing, you were abused. Meanwhile, the kid is saying, yeah, but you know what, I got value
I
out of it.
like it.
I was the favorite in the family, and I had power of my siblings, and oh, I was special and all this, and they loved every bit of it. And when I brought this point up with Sher, it was like it was a big bubble. Dam bursting was a huge point for us. Oh my God, thank you for saying that. I mean, that's a huge point, because she was feeling guilty for thinking that, but it's just natural. It's like obvious. I mean, like when every man out there hears about some, a woman teacher having a supposed abusive relationship with a pupil, they're like, yeah, go boy. It's like, come on, get real. For the boy's point of view, it's not abuse. Yes, technically, of course, it is, because they don't have the sensibility, and there's over emotional involvement and all of the reasons for it. But we can't take out the factor that the kids are also a participant in this.
Yeah.
Now, of course, sometimes the kids are just completely abused and they have no say. I mean, and that's a whole different thing now.
And yeah, and it's coupled with the fact that they end up because they're pleasured that they like it. And then that
Of
is
course,
very
exactly,
confusing to them. Like,
exactly,
oh my
exactly.
God, this is
Oh,
wrong,
it's
but
a
I like
mess.
it.
Exactly. And then they
Yeah.
get into that conflict, which is what she had,
Sure.
and she said her body liked it, but she knew it was wrong. And they feel the cueing from the people that intent, they know it's wrong. It's just a whole mess. But yeah, and again, you do things to kids that they don't like. What's the first thing they do? They complain like all of hell, and they scream and bitch and moan, and you can't get them to do stuff that they really don't want to do, and they'll go and tell everybody. So there's that factor involved. Of course, sometimes they get guilted into it and all this, but yeah, it's not as cut and dried. That's the main point that I'm
Yeah,
trying to
yeah,
make here.
yeah,
So, I guess she's touching on her own expertise and experience. We'll have to see.
yeah.
So I think this is very good for her personally.
Hmm.
Yes, like you said, you feeling stuff out, and there are chances for things to go wrong. But her healing in this is going to be
Yeah,
profound. So,
yeah.
all right, People need commiseration, and many of these courses, all you do want is a sympathetic ear, really.
Yeah.
It's the content is irrelevant, just that somebody gets it and understands where you were and understands it from the inside. That's alone to say, I'm not alone. And for that alone, that course is worthwhile to many people. You know,
Yeah.
it's not something that we can provide.
Right. And as long as she knows her boundaries, that's
She
the
does.
concern.
She
Yeah.
does. She is scared. She is very scared of doing
Good.
this. So
Good. Because again, that's important. Otherwise, the ego jumps right in, and
Right.
again,
correct. Correct.
you know,
So as we go through the course, I will make sure to, you know, follow the progression of her course and build that into the course, you know,
Yeah.
the hearing course, to review that, you know. So we'll just give her that extra favor
Good.
to say, look, you know, let's just really check this stuff, make sure,
Yeah.
you know,
Good.
because yeah, it is tricky stuff you're dealing with. Yeah, you
It's
have to be
tricky.
cautious. Yeah, you have to be
Absolutely.
cautious. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
All right, very cool. I gotta go to the post
Okay, guys.
office. Maybe I got 4 packages. I don't know, but I'm gonna go and see. So, well, the problem is they'll send it back if I don't go there because it doesn't have the PO box on. So
Exactly.
you know, and I don't have a PO box, and it's not on the address, so it's a big mess. So they're just being nice to me now.
Yeah.
Actually, on the package that I get on the tracking order, it says return to send,
Oh,
but I
wow.
got it anyway. So I guess they had put it in the thing to give it back,
Yeah,
but I
they were
got there.
being
It was just pure luck. It was just pure luck. So.
Wow.
I didn't even know it was there. So yeah,
Oh, go get them, buddy.
I
Go
will.
get
I
them.
will.
All right.
Bye
Okay.
Sue.
Guys,
Bye
you
Sue.
know,
Bye Sue.
have a
Yes.
good
Bye
one. Maybe
bye.
hopefully I'll be back on at 3.
Yes.
Good
Yes.
time.
See you later.
Yes.
See you later.
All right.
Fantastic.
Okay.